Okay, welcome back to Just Get to the Game. We're going to move to the summer of 1862. As you remember, the first thing we'll do is put out reinforcements. So we're going to put 8 SPs in Washington. We're going to put 6. Remember, I can put these 6 basically in a couple of different spots. I can pick Ohio or Indiana. Ohio will help me get to this army in Bowling Green and really build that back up again. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then my other 4, I'm going to get the Army of Missouri pretty strong again. So I can put these Army of Missouri 4. Let's see if I want to put them there. I think I do. Put them in Illinois or St. Louis. So I'm going to put them right in Cairo. After they go, the Confederates will go. They will run for their attrition, roll for their attrition. Sorry, we'll start with the West Coast blockade zone. They failed, so we're going to lose 2 strategic will. We're going to go from a 93 to a 91, and because of a change in fortune, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to drop all the way down to 88. And I will not get a reinforcement in that blockade zone, so we'll put them back in the box. We'll then roll for the East Coast blockade zone. I rolled a 3. We will get that unit, and I'm going to put this unit, I'm going to put him in Columbus with the unit I already have there. We will go ahead and roll for the South Atlantic blockade zone. I got a 6, so he's going to come in, and we're going to put this unit right into Charleston, knowing that the Union tried to take that earlier. And our last roll will be up in blockade zone, the North Atlantic blockade zone. I rolled a 3, so we get him in as well. And we'll go ahead and we'll put this guy right into Moorhead, North Carolina. Really good. So then I will take my 9 SPs that I have left, 3, 6, 9, and we'll go ahead and put 1 right into Virginia. So the Army of Northern Virginia will go from 6 to 7. We'll go right away into, I can't go into Columbus because that's Kentucky. So that's going to leave that army a little bit small there. So that's okay. We'll go ahead and we'll put them right into Grand Jet, Tennessee. So Tennessee is now done. And Virginia. I will put 1 into Wheaton, North Carolina. I will put 1 right into Georgia in Dalton, where I've got 3 now with Van Dorn. I'll put 1 in Alabama, in Decatur. I'll put 1 in, let's go back into, we're going to go into Marshall, Texas, because I am worried about the Union coming down this way and taking Texas, so I do want to start a little bit of a force there. Louisiana. I have not put anyone in Mississippi yet, so we'll go ahead and put 1 in Panola, Mississippi. I've got 2 left. I'll put 1 in South Carolina. We'll bring up a unit from, we'll go ahead and put them right in Marion, South Carolina. And then my last unit will go into Florida. Yeah, I think we'll go, no, I'll go Springfield, Louisiana. Okay, next we get to move our units. So Union 1st is going to take the 4 that they have sitting in Cairo, and they're going to move them into the Army of the Missouri. So that army is going to move from a 2 to a 6. They're going to take the 6 that they have in Ohio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rail them right into Bowling Green, where they are going to go into the Army of the Tennessee, and that will go from 5 to 11. And I'm going to take 5 of the 8 that I have in Washington, and I'm going to put them into the Army of the Potomac, which will max them out at 15. I think I moved more than 15 pieces. So I moved 6 and 4 is 12. So I can only put 3 in the Army of the Potomac. So let me drop that back down to 13. And that's going to leave 5 units. That's going to leave 5 units in Washington. Again, you can only move 15 SPs through strategic moves. And a reminder, I move 6 and 4 is 10, and 6 and 4 is 10, and then I can move 5 from Washington, so I can do that. I can move the 5 from Washington to get them up to 15, and that would leave actually 3 in the capital, which will work out just fine for what I think I'm going to do with the Union. Okay. Next thing, the Confederate gets to go. They can move 7. So I'm going to move 1, 2 into the Army of Virginia. So that's going to move them from an 8 to a 10. I'm going to move 1, 2, 3. They all can reach through rail into the Army of the Tennessee, which is going to move them from 4 to 7. So I've got 2 more left I can move. I'm going to move the 2 units in Columbus up to Van Dorn, sitting in Dalton, Georgia. And that'll put me in a place where I can potentially build an army up here as well. And I really wanted to get an army out here, and I'm 1 short to do that. So I got to decide where I want to build my second army. And since I already have Lee out here, I think I'm going to build it all the way out here. Since I have Lee out here, I think I'm going to hold off on this army that I was building here and build it here with Van Dorn. We'll put out the Union generals. Well, Pleasanton is going to go right into the Army of the Missouri, knowing that they need some cavalry here to face with Lee and not be at such a negative on their attacks and defense and not have a cavalry. The Union, the Confederacy goes, knowing now that I've got Van Dorn here and I'm going to want to build an army. I'm going to put Longstreet. I'm going to put Jackson in command here. Actually, he'll do a. Boy, that's going to cost me some a penalty, but I'm going to put him in charge of that army out here. I'm going to take Longstreet, and I'm going to put Longstreet with. I'm going to put Longstreet with Jackson. And then I'm going to take my Pemberton and I'm going to move him with Price. I think I'm good now from a general perspective. So I feel pretty good about that on kind of how I'm looking there. Let me give some other thoughts real quick if there's anything else I want to do. No, I think I'm good. So I will stop there. Armies have moved, generals have been placed. And then we go ahead and draw cards. So I'll take my Confederate hand. I got a major campaign, so they will get to go before the Union, which will potentially get me back to protecting Nashville. I got the Hunley, which is a 1 card. I have a Commerce Raider, which is a 1 card. I've got a 3 Union card, which I can't use. And I've got a 1 Union or Confederate card. That's 3, 4, 5. I get 2 more. So let's just draw those quick. I have Confederate desertions. Luckily, the Union doesn't have that card, so they can't use it. And have Clara Barton, which is another really good Union card, but it's in my possession. The Union can't use it. So I wound up with 1, 2, 3 cards. They're all Union events. No, except for the major campaign. I have a 2 card, which is a Union event. I have 2 1 cards, 3 1 cards that can all be used by the Confederacy. And then the Union's going to get a 1 Confederate card. They're going to get a 1 Union card. They're going to get a 2 Union card. Another 2 Union cards, so that's 4. They get a 3 pre-war treachery. It's a Confederate card, so they can only use it for the points. They will get a 2 Confederate card, and we have foreign intervention that's going to be a Union card. And we'll talk about what that does and why that's going to be, would have been really cool if the Confederacy got it, although at 88 points, it would be really hard to trigger it. And I'll explain that as I get to the card. We'll be back shortly. Thank you. Okay, so you have to look in the cards over. The Confederacy is not going to play their major campaign yet, which allows them to basically activate 3 different armies. I do have this foreign intervention card. There's 2 cards in the game in particular that basically have to trigger if they do. This and the Emancipation Proclamation. So what foreign intervention basically says is, if at any point of the turn, no matter who has the card, the strategic will for the Confederacy reaches 110 or greater, the event will trigger which will basically reduce the Union blockade. It'll reduce Union reinforcements for the remainder of the game and reduce strategic will, because the South is being recognized basically by the European nations. So the Union will have to play this if the Confederacy is 110. With it in the Union hand, the Confederate player doesn't actually know the Union has it. So that makes it really tough to get to push to 110 if you don't know if they have the card or not. The other thing is the Union player can also hold this as their last card. And when they go to play this as their last card, if the condition has not been met, then they can use it as the cost of the card. And then it can go back and it's going to reshuffle the deck so that it can potentially come back again for the Confederacy. So this card, if the event does not trigger, which I don't think it will, the Union will wait till its last turn to play it. They will play it for the 3 points, and then they will shuffle this and the deck and the discard back together so that this could potentially come back out again. So that being said, the Union's going to look at what they've got here, and they really want to start making some things happen. I know I've got the Army of the Tennessee holding Columbus. I've got Nashville open. Again, part of me wanted to move into Nashville and hold it, but part of me also, as a Confederate, and use my campaign to get there and hold it against the Army of the Tennessee. But I also want to build this army, and if I could build this army and build that army, and then play the campaign, I can actually move 3 different units at the same time and potentially do a lot of damage with that. Again, Union doesn't know I have the major campaign, so they look at it and they say, man, we want Tennessee. Nashville is ripe for the taking. So I'm going to take the Army of the Tennessee, which only needs a 2 card to activate. I'm going to go ahead and take this Confederate event because I can't play it for the event. Remember, it's gray. I will discard the card. I'm going to move 1 into Clarksville. I'm not worried about an interception there, and I'm going to convert it. It's now Union. That's 2. I'm going to move into Nashville and convert it. So a couple things are going to happen here. I don't know if you can see the little red 5 on there. It is a strategic will spot. So right away, the strategic will for the Union is going to go up 5, and then they're going to get +2 because of a change in fortune. And the Confederacy is going to lose 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're already on the negative, so nothing happens. And then once I take control of it, it's also going to destroy the resource space. And they give you these little yellow tokens for that. So I'll go ahead and put this, and that can't be turned back over for the rest of the game. So Nashville is destroyed. It falls into Union hands. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am going to drop into Franklin as 5, 6. And I'm going to start to take over the state of Tennessee with the Army of the Tennessee. So I need to get 13 places and destroy resource spots, and that was a big move to taking over Tennessee. Some folks might comment that they wouldn't have done that, but we'll see what happens. We're going to take a gamble with the South. South's going to take an event card, which they can't play, but it's worth 2 to make an army. So they're going to come out here to Dalton, and we are going to form the Army of the Mississippi in Dalton. Yep, so let's do the Army of the Mississippi in Dalton. So remember, I've got 5 SPs, so I'll go ahead and put that on a 5. I'll put the Army marker right on Dalton, where I was located. Okay, and I have 3 generals in there. So what I will do is, my highest ranking general is Van Dorn. So he's going to have to be the leader of the Army of the Mississippi. And then Jackson, and Longstreet will be kind of subordinates to him. And 5 is not the highest rank. Hold on, do I have anyone higher than a 5 on the board that is not in an army for the Confederacy? And I don't think I do. I think everyone is now lower. Yeah, so I actually don't even take a penalty for that, which is pretty awesome, because there's no other generals on the board being in that aren't in an army and are on the board by themselves. Okay, we'll go back to the North. North kind of likes what it's got going on here. They really want to take Tennessee over. I've got this card out here called the kind of want to see what the Confederacy is going to do is one thing I can look at. Yeah, I'm going to show you why I'm going to do this. I'm going to play the Brooklyn Navy Yard. It's going to come out of the game. It's going to raise the blockade from 2 to 3. Really going to start putting pressure on the South to get through these blockades, lose a lot of strategic will, and lose some reinforcements. So the Union's going to go, Confederacy's going to go. They're going to play their major campaign card now. So they get 3 moves with this. That so the first move they're going to do is they're going to activate Lee. And the North is going to counter that by playing empty haversacks for 1. So what that will do is it will cancel 1 army move, 1 move. So I will still get the other 2 moves, but this can be played as an interrupt card to cancel the activation of any Confederate force. It does other things if the Union had it, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cancel Lee's ability to move. So Lee is stuck. But my other 2 forces can move. So I look at that, and that changes what I want to do a little bit. I'm going to bring the unit in Springfield, Louisiana, all the way up to this force I have here in Tennessee in hopes of creating another army. That'll be my second move. My third move will be the Army of the Mississippi. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's come back. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm afraid of being intercepted out here by the Army of the Tennessee if I come into here. Part of me wants to cut off the Army of the Tennessee supply and make it to Nashville and make the Army of Tennessee attack me. I'm not very strong, but at least it'll keep them back a little bit. So we are going to try to get to Nashville and hopefully force the Army of Tennessee back. They're going to probably try to intercept, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to attempt to go into Murfreesboro. The Union is going to attempt to intercept. So as a reminder how intercept works, that is the Army of the Tennessee. Their general has a defense of 1, so I need a 1. But I have cavalry now at Stoneman, which gives me +2. So I need a 1, 2, or 3 to intercept. And I go ahead and roll. That slipped. I got a 1. So the intercept is successful. So the Army of the Tennessee gets to Murfreesboro first, and we have an attack. So the Army of the Tennessee is sitting at 11. The Army of the Mississippi is at a 5. So the advantage in units is not enough to warrant any ratios. I'm gonna roll 2 dice. Okay, the Union rolled a 1. It's a medium-sized battle. So I go to medium. They have a cavalry. My battle rating on my general for the Army of the Tennessee is a 2 versus Van Dorn, which is a 1. So I'm going to get, I will not be able to use 2 of my generals. I can only use 1. So I will use Pope in this case. Stoneman in this case. This has got a 1 defense. So my 1 plus 1 for Burnside plus 1 for my cavalry is going to be a 3. And a 3 on a medium result will be 1 casualty for the Army of the Tennessee. So he'll go from 5 to 4. The Army of the Tennessee rolled a 3. They don't have cavalry, so their general is going to be at a -2 advantage. He's a 1 attack, so he'll only go to 0. And I can use both of my generals here where it gets really good. I've got Jackson and Longstreet, which is going to give me a +5. So a 5 result on the medium table is also going to be 1 casualty for me. So I'm going to go for the Union. So the Unions go 11 to 10. So 1 casualty each. Wait, I rolled a 3. Okay. I get no bonuses for my general because of the cavalry that the Union has. I do get to use Jackson. So 3 and 3 is 6. Okay. And Longstreet +2 is an 8. So, okay, I made 2 mistakes here. first mistake I made, let's go back. When I rolled the 1 for the Union, okay, the Union also got +1 for their general, so that's going to make that a 2. They also get +1 for the defense of the cavalry, that makes it a 3. Plus they get 2 for the intercept, so that's a 5. So a roll of a 5 on a medium is going to be 1 casualty. So the casualty is still right, but I want to make sure I added that up correctly. The Confederacy rolled a 3. Their general has a 1 attack. They're going to lose 2, basically because they don't have a cavalry, but you don't go to the negative. So I have a 0 attack, a 0 bonus from my general, but I do get +3 from Jackson, so my 3 becomes a 6, and I have +2 from Longstreet, which becomes an 8. So an 8 result is going to be 2 losses for the Army of the Tennessee. So they will drop from 11 to 9, and they will have to retreat back, and the Army of the Mississippi will be able to move into Murfreesboro. So they were intercepted, stopped, had a battle. Wasn't a big battle, but they got 1 step closer to where they needed to go, and they are putting some pressure now on in the central area, because the Army of the Tennessee vastly outnumbers the Army of the Mississippi. Although the generals in the Army of the Mississippi are way superior. Don't mind the screaming from my kid downstairs. And the Army of the Missouri is locked with Lee up here, so we'll see what the Union does on their turn. Union's got 4 cards left. They're going to go ahead and play Pre-War Treachery for 3. It's a Confederate event. They're going to take their army. They're going to go into Aquia Creek out here and convert it for 1 and come back for 2. They're going to drop into Hanover for 3, convert it for 4. And we are going to start putting some pressure on the Army of Northern Virginia. We're going to start attacking out here. So we're going to make an attack. So let's roll the dice. This attack is going to be a large army against a large army. The Army of the Potomac is a 15. The Army of Northern Virginia is a 10. So the Army of the Potomac, their general, again, is Halleck, who's got a rating of 3. The Army of Northern Virginia has Joe Johnston, who's got a rating of 2, which means I can only use 1 of my generals in the attack for the Army of the Northern Virginia. So with a 2, plus my generals, plus, which is a 1, is a 3, and I'll use my cavalry, plus 1 is a 4. So a 4 result on a large table. The attacker roll, that's going to be 3 casualties to the Army of Northern Virginia. So they're going to go from a 10 to a 7. The Army of Northern Virginia rolled a 1. They do have a cavalry. So with their 1, they're going to add a defense of 2 for Johnston, which is going to put them at 4. 2 for Stewart, which is going to put them at 6. 1 for Beauregard, which is going to put them at 7. And 2 for the fort, which is going to put them at 9, which will be 5 casualties to the Army of the Potomac. So they'll go from 15 to 10. Again, because that win was a major battle, army-sized major battle, we'll have some strategic will modifiers there. So the winner was the Confederacy. They're going to carry 3 to their strategic will. So they're going to go from 83 to 86, plus they'll add 2 for a change of fortune of war to 88, while the Union will go down, I'm going to go down 5. So the Union's going to go from 109 down 5 to 104, and due to the strategic will change, they'll lose 3 more, 1, 2, 3, because they move from positive to negative. So the score now is a 91 to an 88, still very, very close. But a significant, now you might say the Union lost that battle, but again, the war of attrition is what you're really fighting for. I lost 5 troops, I still have 10. The Confederacy, Army of Northern Virginia is now down to 7. I still have reinforcements I can bring into that army and continue the attack if I so choose. Next up, we go to the Confederacy. The Confederacy is going to play the Clara Barton card for 3. It's an event, which they can't play, but what they are going to do is they're going to make their last army out here in Memphis. So since I moved that unit up, I do have 5 SPs there now, 4 regular and 1 with the cavalry. So we'll change that to 2, 3, 4. I have to put in command of that Army Polk. He's my highest ranked general out there. This will be the Army of the West. Now, here's where I will put, it was 5. It is 5. So the cavalry is going to go, I'm going to put the marker back into the cavalry slot to not confuse that. I'll keep it as 5. Wheeler's my cavalry. Army of the West is going to go into Memphis. I'll put the 2 generals on the side. And the Confederacy actually has more generals than the Union. Polk with a rating of 5 is, again, the only general I have on the board. That I have no one else that's not in an army, so there's no strategic will hit for that. And the Army of the West has now been mobilized. So the Confederacy has 4 armies, but they're very small. We'll move back to the Union. Union would love to get their 4th army started for sure. We need to think through some of this. Army of the Tennessee. All right, I'm going to take a 2 card. I'm going to take yeah, I'm going to play the Crittenden Compromise for the points. And I'm going to activate the Army of the Tennessee to basically go 1-2 into Columbus and take that over. They will come back 3, and then just so I can't get intercepted, I'm going to try to attack the Army of the Mississippi in Murfreesboro. The Army of the Mississippi actually has no chance to withdraw because their rating is a 0. So an attack will occur. Okay, a 3 and a 2. So the Army of the Tennessee, let's look at them again. Their general rating, they don't have an attack for that, so they will not get that bonus. Yeah, they will not get that bonus. The Army of the Mississippi is actually a higher ranking general, so they'll only get 1 of their generals. The Union will only get 1 of their generals. So they're going to get Pope. So the 2 will be a 3. So when I look at a medium battle, a 3 will be a 1 casualty. So the Army of the Mississippi will go from 4 to 3. And the Confederacy rolled a 3. They have, I can use both generals. So again, because I've got Jackson and Longstreet out there, they both have 3 and 3s as defense. So my 3 is going to be a 9. So a 9 on the medium table is going to be defenders. They're going to lose 3 units from the Army of Tennessee. 1, 2, 3. And they're going to have to pull back because they lost. But again, the important thing to note here is the Army of the Mississippi, though they're doing great damage with their generals, they're down to 3 SPs. And the Army of the Tennessee is currently doubling that with 6. So again, that you're just beating down the South, which the attrition is really starting to take a toll on them. We'll come back to the Confederacy. I know the Union's got 2 cards left. I got to start getting troops up here somehow to reinforce here and Virginia. So I'm going to play the C.S. Huntley for 1, and I'm going to use it strictly to move a unit. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I'm afraid if I move the Army of the Mississippi into Nashville, I'll get intercepted. And once again, if I get intercepted, I'll probably win the battle, but I'll lose my precious units, and I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and move the unit in Mobile 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, I can only move them to 2. I don't want to do that because I get stuck up there. Let's come back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll move them up to Kingston just to get a unit kind of closer along the way. Again, the Confederacy can't play their 3 card now because I got to wait to see. I mean, the Union can't play their 3 card because they're waiting to see if the event triggers, so they can't just play it for the points. The last card I have is a 1-point card. I will go ahead and play that. And what I will do is I will take this unit up here in basically Harper's Ferry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll move them into the Army of the Potomac. And the Army of the Potomac will go back to 7. The Confederacy has 3 cards left to the 1 in the Union hand. The next card the Confederacy will play I'm worried of getting slammed here by the Army of the Tennessee. So I am going to play a one. I'm going to. Tough. I'll play the CS Hunter 1 card for the points. And with that, I will have activate Lee to come 1, 2, 3, 4. He might try to intercept me, but let him go ahead and try that. 5, we're going to come into Columbia and try to put a hit on. Well, let's just see. Let's do that again. I can come here for 1, 2. Yeah, I'm going to come this way. I'm going to come down into Mackenzie for 1. I can come up into Dover. The Union Army can't come down and intercept me because I have a fort there and a river over the fort. So 2, 3. I can come into Clarksville for 4. I can come into Nashville for 5. And the Army of the Tennessee for the Union will absolutely try to intercept that so they don't get cut off. So they're going to get a roll. They basically have to roll a 1, 2, a 3, and they rolled a 6. So they did not get it. So again, I went, I left that fort in Columbus. That might hurt me, but 1, 2, 3, 4 into the state. Spend 1 to convert Nashville back to Confederate, even though I can't do anything with the resource there. And then I will make an attack against the Army of the Tennessee, who I failed the intercept, but now I can try to retreat with the Army of the Tennessee. And they are going to try to pull back. They don't want to get into a fight right here with Lee. So they need a 1, 2, a 3. They rolled a 2. They do have a spot to pull back to in Columbia. Luckily, I converted that. So we'll move into that spot with the Army of the Tennessee. We'll go back to the Union. The Union does have that 3 card. And man, I would like to put another attack on the Army of the Northern Virginia here. No foreign intervention could occur. That's why they can play it for the points. I'm going to move the Army of the Mississippi 1 into Columbus, convert it back, and destroy the fort again. So that's going to move my strategic will up 1, plus 2 for a change in fortune. Confederacy will lose 1, minus 1, 2, 3 for a change in fortune. So 1, 2, I'll move down to Mackenzie, Tennessee, and convert that. 3, 4. I will then move into Humboldt, Tennessee, 5, and convert that 6. So big push from the Union all the way down. I kind of like the look of that. Okay, no cards left for the Union. The South has 2 left. They've got a 1 card and a 3 card. We'll go ahead and play the 1 card with Lee. And Lee is going to want to try to finish the Army of the Mississippi. Army of the Mississippi will try to retreat. Army of the Mississippi to retreat needs a 1, 2, or 3. I rolled the wrong die, and I'm gonna, again, I like to roll the blue for the Union, so let's go ahead and do that. They rolled a 1, so the Army of the Mississippi does, wait, they're both my armies. What the hell am I talking about? That's stupid. All right, I did get my armies together again. I don't want Lee attacking the Confederate Army there. Take that back. So Lee is gonna come down and hit the Army of the Tennessee down here. I'll keep the roll of the 3, which does allow the Confederate Army to retreat. But by doing so, they are going to retreat into a Confederate space, and they are going to, and if I do that, because I'm not retreating to a space I control, I'm going to lose a unit. So you know what? I'm not going to retreat. Let's go ahead and have that fight, Mr. Lee. So let's roll our dice. I got a 6 for the Union and a 4 for the Confederacy. So let's go ahead and apply these again. So the Army of the Tennessee, reminder, they do have cavalry, but their general is not as good. They have a good general. He's got a 2 rating, but not as good as Lee with a 1. So I can only use one other general. So I will use Burnside, and I will use my cavalry to give me a +2. So the Union rolled a 6 with their +2 is an 8. An 8 on a medium-sized battle is going to be defender rolls, attack 3 casualties for the Army of the Tennessee. So they're going to go from 7 to 4. So you can see, even though I'm winning these battles, I'm losing the attrition. The Confederacy, the attrition battle, the Confederacy rolled a 4. So with their 4, they get +3 for Lee. That's 7. +1 for Johnson, which is 8. And +1 for Bragg, which is 9. So with a 9, I am going to hit, 9 is going to do 2 casualties to the Army of the Tennessee. So let's drop them down, 1, 2. And because I only did 2 and the Union did 3, the Union actually wins that battle. Whew, I still have 1 card left. It's a 3 card for the Confederacy. Got the Army of the West that I can activate and potentially attack the Army of the Missouri. I don't know that I want to do that. Okay, right now the river is open again because that fort is gone and it's open all the way through. So I'm going to spend my 3 card to actually put another fort on the board. And I'm going to put this fort right into Memphis. So it's going to stop the Mississippi at Memphis and it'll give me a plus for my army. So that will end the turn. Pretty brutal. It's funny, the rebels won most of the battles pretty significantly, but due to their numbers being less than the Union in the long run, you can argue they lost that out. Again, at the end of the turn, first thing we'll do is convert spaces. So the Army of the Tennessee will take control over Franklin. So the marker just comes off the board. Any other place where that needs to occur? And I would say no. We're good across the board there. Did Tennessee fall to the Confederates? I don't think so. Let's add up the spots of Tennessee. So the Confederates have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Confederate locations in Tennessee. They still need another 8 to take that over. So that did not occur. So we'll now go to attrition. So how attrition will kick in is, again, if an army is got greater than 7, they'll lose 2. So the Army of the Potomac will go from a 10 to an 8. The Army of the Missouri will go from 6 to 5. They'll lose 1. The Army of the Tennessee will go 5 to 4 because they'll lose 1. But they are also out of supply. They can't get back to their supply lines any route, so they're going to have to forage, and they will go through attrition again. So that army is dangerously low. So you can see that's a mistake of pushing too far and getting cut off behind your supply line. That's really going to hurt, and that army could get wiped out next turn very easily, especially because there's no way to get the supplies to them. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. They're going to hope to get a card to activate first and kind of go potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe retreat all the way up as far as they can go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Columbus potentially, where we'll have maybe reinforcements from Cairo coming down and build that army back up. If the Confederacy goes first, I promise you they're probably going to try to go after that army and knock them out. Let's go look at the Confederates now. Army of the West. Well, let's start with Lee's arm, the Army of Northern Virginia. They're going to take 2 casualties, 2 attrition, so they're going to go from 7 to 5. The Army of the West is going to lose 1, so they're going to go 5 to 4. The Army of the Tennessee. Now, I lost this resource space, so I can't trace my resource line to there. But I can come this way and trace it all the way down to Atlanta. And then Atlanta, for the Confederacy to get a resource, you got to then be able to trace it to another resource spot. So Augusta, Columbus, I can trace them down to my open ports. So I'm pretty good there. So the Army of the Tennessee is going to lose 1. They're going to go from 4 to 3. And the Army of the Mississippi is going to go from 3 to 2. So the Confederate armies are very strong, but very small. Even though they got 4 on the board, they're vastly outnumbered right here. Richmond, I would say, is at risk right now. So there's a lot of risk going on for the South. For the South. Again, there you're just trying to hold on. So next turn, we will go to fall of 1862. The only general coming in the game is going to be Joe Hooker. Nice history. Yes, the name Hooker, it actually comes, Hooker, as in the prostitutes, come from General Hooker because he used to keep girls in the camps. And just like Burnside, hopefully you know that that's how Burnside, sideburns on your face came into play, because General Burnside has those and they became sideburns, became very famous for that. So again, next turn, we're going to have that. We're going to have some strategic will sapped to the north as the Northerners are getting upset that this war is continuing. They promised it was going to end early. But right now, when you look at the score, it is a Union lead as they are sitting with 94 against the Confederates at 84. Still a close game. 10 points is not that wide of a margin. Nashville has fallen. The Confederate armies are dangerously weak. The Army of the Tennessee for the Union is trapped in no man's land, and without getting any units to them, they are on the verge of potentially getting whooped pretty hard as well. So we'll see what happens there. And we will see you next time at the table. Thank you. Okay, so at the end of that round, we will talk about generals now, and how it works in an army is an army cannot have more than 3 generals, which includes the cavalry, greater than the units in the army. So the Army of the Mississippi, you can see, has got 2 units left. So they could have basically 3 more generals than the 2 units, which would be 5. So if you look at the Army of the Mississippi, they've got 3 generals, they're okay. The Army of the Tennessee has got 3, so they can have 6 generals, they're fine. The Army of the West is at 4, they can have 7 generals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're fine. And the Army of Northern Virginia is at 5, so they can have 8 generals and they're fine. So that's how the general numbers work. If you come out here to the Army of the Tennessee, they ended the turn with 3, so they can have 6 generals. They have 3, they're fine. Now, if you have a corps on the board, which is, again, it'll be like a stack of units with 1 general. You can basically have in a corps 1 general greater than the stack of units. So if you had 4 units in the place, you could have 5 generals. If you had 2 units in the place, you could have 3 generals. But again, anything other than that, you'd have to remove your generals. They would go to the turn track to come back next turn. And really, really difficult is your opponent gets to pick which excess generals, excluding cavalry and I believe the commanding general. Okay.